Friends, we are not defined by what happens to us. There is always a choice. And by exercising the strength to choose, we rise above our fate. I've said many times that the greatest professor of my life had a fifth grade education. My bubby, Genendel Baslea, may her neshama have an aliyah, survived the Holocaust, Auschwitz, and the Death March. She and so many others offer us a living example of the power to choose life. Welcome back to Torah in 10, Parshas Re'eh. I'm Jody Burkell, and I'm so excited to be here with you again. Although it's painful for me, it's painful for everyone I know to read Holocaust biographies. But one of the best books I have ever read is called The Choice by Dr. Edith Eger. At the age of 90, yes, 90 years old, Dr. Eger wrote her autobiography. I have to tell you, if you haven't read it, run, buy it, order it, whatever. Just get your hands on a copy of it. It's a magnificent triumph of the human spirit and will become one of your most cherished books, I promise. Dr. Eger is living proof of the powerful statement made by the late Viktor Frankl, another survivor of Auschwitz, who said, "Everything can be taken from a person except the freedom to decide how to respond in any given situation." This was echoed by Edith's mother on the train to Auschwitz. She told her daughter, "Just remember, no one can take away from you what you put in your mind." In her book, Edith says that suffering is universal, but victimhood is optional. There's a difference, she said, between victimization and victimhood. Rabbi Sack says all of us are likely to be victimized at some point in our lives. We will experience abuse, injury, ill fortune, or failure. These are forces out of our control. Victimization comes from the outside, but victimhood comes from the inside. No one can make us a victim but us. When we develop a mindset, a way of thinking that keeps us stuck in the past, rigid, blaming, pessimistic, and unforgiving, we become, says Rabbi Sack, our own jailers. Dr. Eger speaks about healing as a process when we refuse to think of ourselves as victims. This mentality helped her survive, and it's what she uses in her own therapy to help her patients discover for themselves. This is what she based the title of her book on, The Choice. There is always a choice. Edith used her own strength to inspire strength in others. She didn't ask, "Why did this happen to me?" Rather, she asked how her own suffering can enable her to help others. This is the Jewish response and a fundamental theme of the book of Devarim, the power to choose. Near the end of the Parsha, we read the powerful words, "This day I call the heavens and earth as witnesses against you, that I have set before you life and death, blessing and curse. Now choose life so that you and your children may live." God is telling you, I gave you free will, the power to choose the life you want to live. The choice between acting well and acting badly, doing good and committing evil is always there. We may be hurt by others. I know of no one who hasn't experienced a challenge or two in their lifetime. But as Rabbi Sack so beautifully puts it, there is always a part of us, something deep within our soul, giving us the resilience to survive. We're not mere prisoners of circumstance. The Jewish people are no strangers to suffering. As a nation, we've been victims time and time again. And still, we did not allow ourselves to be defined by our oppressors. For the most part, we kept our humanity and sense of freedom intact. This, in of itself, is a miracle. Rabbi Sack says victimization was what happened to the Jewish people. It was not the essence of who they were. We each have the ability to look forward and look back. In any given situation, we can ask, why did this happen? That's looking back. Or we can ask, now that this has happened, how should I respond? That's looking forward. There's a huge difference between the two. We can't change the past, but we can change the future. Looking back leads us to powerlessness and resentment. Looking forward leads us to courage, strength of will, and self-control. This is what I learned from my booby. And this is what Dr. Edith Eger, survivor of Auschwitz, tells us in her book. She writes, "The most important truth I know is that the biggest prison is in your own mind. And in your pocket, you already hold the key, the willingness to take absolute responsibility for your life. You can't change what happened. You can't change what you did or what was done to you, but you can choose how you live now. See, I have set before you a blessing and a curse." That was Moses's insistent message in the last month of his life. There is always a choice. We can always choose to be free. May we all be blessed with this life-changing idea to know that we're not defined by what happens to us. We always have a choice of how we respond. May we use that choice to view our life experiences not as victims, but as survivors. Wishing you all a Shabbat Shalom.